Hello, my name is Mindy Bartley, your National Retail Production Support Manager. Thank you for joining me today for the WebMax Disclosure Module demonstration. This is part 3 of a 4-part series. You can locate the WebMax Disclosure Module from your Fast Track 360 borrower file, Forms tab on the left-hand side, and then make sure your Show in Alpha order and Show All boxes are checked at the bottom of that column. WebMax Disclosure Module will be alphabetical. We're going to skip down to the qualification tasks section for part 3 of our demonstration today. Qualification tasks are directly tied to the log tab qualification milestone. This milestone does need to be completed prior to disclosure. You'll notice a required field section at the bottom and a task section over on the right-hand side. Required fields are there to make sure that you have completed all of the information needed on your 1003 or perhaps a required disclosure. So for instance, let's say we had a phone number missing on our 1003. Now the qualification milestone is showing that a required field for borrower home phone is missing, and you would need to enter that. You could either enter that right here in this field, or if you weren't sure where that field was tied back to, you can click on the Go to Fields tab, highlight the item, and go to Field. What that's going to do is it's going to bring you right into the page where the information is missing. So then you could complete it here, or again, right back on that qualification task page. I'm going to enter it there and go back to qualification, and now we'll see that it is no longer a required field because I've entered the info there. This transaction detail comment section ties directly back to your borrower summary comments screen and also your underwriting submission checklist that your processor uses. So this would be a good spot to enter any information that you want your underwriter to know, such as cash to close, coming from gift funds, direct to title, at closing, okay? You can do that on a Fannie Mae file, not on a Freddie Mac file, but that may be information that's important that you need to communicate with your underwriter and your processor. Home counseling and IRS forms will be completed a little later in some adjoining widgets. The tasks on the right-hand side, we have validated our transfer taxes during the WebMax Disclosure Training Part 2, so I can check that off. I have not completed my state-specific disclosure form yet. I can access that via the WebMax Disclosure module and clicking on the state-specific disclosures widget. That's going to bring up a pop-up for quick entry for my state-specific disclosures. Keep in mind, some of these disclosures could also be for wholesale or correspondent, and you're a retail branch, so please reach out to your branch manager for retail and have the branch manager advise which sections for your state are required to be completed. Once those items are completed, you can go back to your qualification milestone and check off that task. We'll come back and finish this milestone a little later after our home counseling and our IRS fields are complete. So back to our disclosure module. The next item is AUS, but I like to check the loan validation testing section first. So we have a debt to income, assets versus cash to close and QMV section. You want to make sure that those are passing before running any automated underwriting. If you need to fix this section, just click on the blue Fix tab and that will bring you right into the section you need to fix. For instance, I'm currently failing for my assets versus cash to close. So if I go into my Show All VOD section, I can see here that I'm actually missing my gift funds entry. So it'll give me an opportunity here to fix that. Maybe mom's giving some gift and we're gonna make it, they're gonna do it at closing, so we'll do gifts not deposited, and let's say she's gonna give $100,000. Nice mom. Oop, that's $1 million. All right, so we'll close. And now we'll see that fail go from fail to pass, okay? Once you've completed these sections, then we can go ahead and run our AUS. By double clicking on the AUS widget, that's gonna bring you back into the Services tab, Request Underwriting. You can request your underwriting run here, via DU on ePass or a loan product advisor system to system, which is WebMax system. Now, anyone can run this on the sales side. So your LOs, your branch managers, your LOAs, you can go ahead and run DU or LPA. You don't have to wait for your processor to run those AUS. However, if you have a USDA loan, then GUS can only be run by your processor and is actually run outside of Fast Track 360 in GUS website direct. So we'll choose, let's say we're running DU, click submit, and then you're going to submit to DU on ePass. The LPA screens will look very similar. You do not need login credentials for DU or LPA direct. What you will need is your reissued credentials for your specific credit provider. So whoever you're using to pull credit, those are the credentials that you're going to need. You can reissue your credit by choosing provider reference number to reissue a previously ordered credit report. Click next, and that's going to bring you into another pop-up. Just ensure that your credit reference number is entered here. Okay. If you have pulled your credit from within Fast Track 360, then it should auto-populate the credit ref number right into that field. If not, then you can manually enter it by locating your file number on your credit report. This is where you're going to make sure that you have your credit reissue credentials. Your account number is going to be your username for your credit vendor. Your password, of course, is your password. If you need to edit the credit reference info, you can click there and it'll bring you right back to the credit reference information edit screen. Okay, once completed, you'll go ahead and click submit and it will run your DU or LPA for you. Okay, we're going to go back to our disclosure tracking. Okay, we've run our AUS. Now we need to complete our LO self-disclosure tasks. Settlement service provider list should auto-populate from your Smart Fees import. If it doesn't, you can enter them manually. You just need to make sure that you have your settlement service providers listed here with addresses. Okay, we're moving on. The next widget in the LO self-disclosure is your HMDA. You just need to make sure that your HMDA is completed for both borrowers. Okay, you can open this up and just make sure that all of these questions are answered appropriately. So either yes, no, not applicable. Okay, keep in mind if you do have a co-borrower, say these are email, then if you go to the borrower summary page, let's say your co-borrower HMDA information is grayed out and you do actually have a co-borrower. Go to your borrower summary page and make sure that the co-applicant box is not checked. If the no co-applicant box is checked, it will gray out the HMDA information for the co-borrower. Okay, so we're going to move on to our next item, which is payoffs and payments. If you're paying off any debt at closing to qualify, then just ensure that you have the correct item checked to include. Okay, you can click OK. If you're not paying anything off, then just leave this blank and just hit OK. Okay, we're going to get late fee. When you click on the Get Late Fee tab, it's going to update the late fee based on the product that you've chosen, the program. Then we're moving on to IRS. We do need to generate an IRS form for all borrowers. We'll click on the new Verif icon in the upper right corner of the screen to generate a new verification. Now, if you have married borrowers, you need to find out if they are filing married joint or married separate. So if they're filing married jointly, then you want one IRS form for both. If they're filing married separately, then you want separate IRS forms, one for each borrower. So be careful about that, especially if you do have to actually order tax transcripts for like your self-employed borrowers. You don't want the IRS to reject your form. So if they are joint, you can just do copy from borrower summary, and it's going to populate your borrower information right into the form. It should populate 1040, and then you just want to make sure you have the most 3 recent tax years available here. We're going to go back to our disclosure module, and the next thing on our list should be home counseling. Okay, we need to go ahead and disclose our home counseling providers. From the home counseling providers page, you're going to click on the Get Agencies tab in the far right side of your screen. That's going to give you a pop-up. You need to choose 5 service names here. So we're going to click off 5, and I'm going to choose Get Agencies tab again. Once I click on that, it's going to populate 10 providers. I'm going to click Save. 10 providers is the minimum amount required to disclose. You can disclose more if you want, but you have to have a minimum of 10. So we'll go back to our disclosure module. And then the last thing we need to do before we disclose is run Maven. This is going to be the compliance report that we'll run, and that's going to let us know if we're failing for anything important that we need to fix prior to disclosure. For instance, if our fees are out of compliance, if there's a state licensing issue, it could be any number of things. It's going to bring us to this Tools Compliance Review tab. We're going to click on Preview. You don't want to click Order. Order will be the final Maven that's run by the funding department. So any compliance review that you run, you're going to, again, click Preview. It does take a couple minutes for it to run. We just want to make sure that we do not have a red fail or error. Anything else is fine. So if you get a warning, it's okay. You just can't have a red fail or error. If we do get a red fail or error, then we need to review the fail or error on our compliance report and fix anything that's wrong. So on this one, we got a warning, which is totally fine. So the review status is a warning, that's okay. Now, let's say I had a red fail, and let's say it was in the TILA RESPA column. Okay, these are interactive hyperlinks here. You can click on the TILA RESPA section, that'll bring you right into that section, and then you would just need to look for where you were failing and just make sure that you're reading the message there. That's what's going to tell you what you need to fix prior to disclosure. In the alerts and messages section, it's also going to give you your compliance, your most current compliance review. And as long as it says did not pass, you're good to go. If it says did not pass here, then again, you need to go back, review your compliance review report before moving on to the next step. Okay, now we're going to go back to our qualification milestone because we do need to complete that. Now you'll see all our required fields have been completed because we have generated our 4506T form and our homeownership counseling. I can click on the finished box, and that's going to move my milestone. So you can tell your milestone's been moved because it'll start off as light type, it'll go to bold type when completed. And then I should also be completing my setup milestone. This is where you're going to assign your processing queue. So you want to make sure that you assign the processing queue where your processor, where their home branch is. So just make sure that you're not assigning, for instance, plantation, because that is wholesale. Okay, so you're going to assign whichever branch your processor's out of. For this demonstration, I'm just going to use Test Corp. And then I can move my milestone here. If you'd like to assign a specific processor, you can do that here in the Send to Processing worksheet. You can choose your processor from the pop-up. Just do not finish the milestone. Okay. We're going to go back to our WebMax disclosure module. This completes part 3 of our WebMax disclosure module demonstration. Please join me for part 4, where we're going to request disclosures.